You've sent the pitches, you found the journalists, you wrote what you thought was a solid email, you hit send, and then nothing came back, not even a quick "no thanks." After enough of that silence, you start to wonder whether PR just doesn't work for a business like yours. Most founders read that silence as proof that PR doesn't work for them, when the real problem is how the pitch was written. They write to a journalist the same way they'd write to a customer, and that one habit is what kills the response. A journalist isn't a customer. They're an editor deciding what their readers care about, and the second you treat one like a buyer instead of an editor, you've lost them before they finish the first line. At Otter, we've reviewed thousands of founder pitches, and the same mistakes show up again and again, 7 of them. I'm going to walk you through all 7, starting with the 2 that cost founders the most coverage, and I'll show you what to do instead of each one. Mistake number 1, the beggar's ask. The difference between a pitch that gets ignored and one that gets a reply often comes down to a single sentence, the very last one, where you make the ask. Most founders close the pitch with some version of, "Would you be able to write about us?" It feels polite and professional, and it's the exact line that sinks the whole thing. When you ask, "Would you write about us?" you've made yourself the one asking for a favor. The whole sentence is about you, your company, your need for the coverage. It reads like begging, and begging is the last position you want to be in when you're trying to land coverage. Change one line, and that entire pitch changes with it. Instead of, "Would you write about us?" you ask, "Would this angle interest your readers?" Now you're not asking for a favor at all. You're handing a busy editor something they can use, and you've put their reader first, which is the only thing that journalists care about. Your ask gives you away. It tells the journalist who you think the pitch is really about. Make it about their reader, and you stop sounding like a vendor and start sounding like a source worth keeping around. Mistake number 2, pitching into a dead news cycle. Your best pitch can get ignored for a reason that has nothing to do with the pitch. It comes down to timing, and most founders never even think about it. Journalists cover what the moment demands. When a big story is dominating the news cycle, that's what they're writing, and it's what their readers are tuned into that week. So you send a nice feature pitch the same week some major story is eating up all the attention and your email is invisible. Not because the pitch is bad, but because it has nothing to do with what that journalist is buried in right now. The fix is to look at what's being covered before you hit send. If the news cycle is consumed by something happening in the world, find the honest connection between that and what your business does and lead with it. You stop pushing your story out into a void and start meeting the moment the journalist is already in. That's why timing is a skill of its own. Pitching when the media is receptive instead of whenever you happen to be ready is one of the biggest levers you have, and almost nobody uses it on purpose. Mistake 3. Leading with your bio instead of the story. Your bio belongs at the bottom of the pitch, not the top. And almost every founder does the exact opposite. The first paragraph decides whether the journalist keeps reading or moves on. Most founders spend that paragraph on themselves, their title, their company, the awards they've won. Opening with your credentials gives the journalist no reason to care yet, because there's no context around why any of it matters to their readers. You've handed them the answer to a question they never asked. The story is the reason they keep reading. Your background is what makes the story credible once they're already interested. So lead with the angle and why it's relevant right now, and let your bio do its job at the end where it backs everything up instead of sitting up top doing nothing. Don't open with who you are. Open with why this is a story their readers need to see, and earn the bio by the time they get to it. Mistake number 4, subject lines that read like ads. A journalist decides whether to open your email in about a second, and most founder subject lines guarantee it never gets opened. The pitch underneath can be perfect and it still dies in the inbox if the subject line reads like a marketing email. Promotional language gets filtered out on site, sometimes by the spam folder, and sometimes just by the person scanning their inbox. A journalist's inbox is buried, so the only job of your subject line is to earn the open, and it does that by being specific and interesting, not by sounding like a campaign you're running. Give them a concrete reason to read on, something tied to the actual angle instead of a sales line. Treat the subject line like a headline, because that's what it is, and it's competing against every other headline sitting in that inbox. Mistake 5. No numbers, no credibility. Journalists trust numbers more than they trust big talk, and a pitch with no data is asking them to take you on faith. A lot of founder pitches are all claims, no proof. Big, confident language with nothing underneath it. To a journalist, that reads like a stranger making assertions they have no way to check. Numbers are how you show you're credible and worth quoting. A real figure gives the journalist something solid to build a story around, and it tells them the person on the other end of the email knows what they're talking about. You don't need to bury them in data. One or two real relevant numbers change how the whole pitch reads and move you from someone making a claim to someone who can back it up. Mistake 6. Wrong journalist, right pitch. The same pitch sent to the wrong journalist is just spam with your name on it. And founders do this constantly. Blasting one identical pitch to a tech reporter and a finance reporter at the same time kills it with both of them because every journalist has a beat. A finance reporter has no use of your tech angle, and a tech reporter isn't going to touch your finance story, so the same email fails twice. When a pitch obviously wasn't written for the person reading it, you've told them you didn't do your homework, and you've burned a contact you might have really wanted 6 months from now. The fix is the unglamorous part nobody wants to do, the research on the back end into who covers what, who's written about your space recently, and who would genuinely care about this. Targeting the exact right journalist instead of spraying the same message at everyone on a list is the whole game, and it's the opposite of spray and pray. Mistake 7, the follow-up that decides it. Most founders send one pitch, hear nothing, and quit right before the thing would have worked. A single send almost never lands on its own. Inboxes fill up fast, your email gets pushed down within hours, and silence usually means it was never even seen, not that it was turned down. The wrong follow-up is just as dead though. A quick, just checking in note adds nothing, gives the journalist no reason to look, and gets ignored the same way the first email did. A real follow-up brings something new, a fresh angle, an updated number, a reason the story matters more this week than it did last week. You're giving them another way in, not nagging them through the same door. This is relationship work, and it's why coverage compounds over time. The founders who land press consistently aren't writing better single emails than everyone else. They've built actual relationships with journalists, the kind where their next pitch gets read before the last few were worth reading. That's the real reason most founders never crack this on their own. Getting all 7 of these right on every pitch across the numbers of journalists who matter for your industry, and then keeping it up month after month is a full-time job. It's the job we do at Otter PR every day. We run it through a system we call the OTR method, outreach to the exact right journalist, trends so your story goes out when the media is receptive to it, and relationships that turn one placement into ongoing coverage instead of a one-time hit. Every fix I just walked you through lives inside that system. We're a 2-time Inc. 5000 company, ranked number 1 on G2 and Clutch. We have direct relationships with thousands of journalists across every major outlet, and we guarantee monthly placements in top-tier publications. If you're a founder who's tired of sending pitches and hearing nothing back, book a strategy call with us. We'll look at your story and the way you've been pitching, and we'll show you the angles a journalist would run with. The link is right below this video. Go book the call and let's get your business the coverage it should already have.